Alright, so here are these peas that we're going to be picking right now. These are the shelling peas. I'm only going to pick the ones that are really nice and fat like this. Not going to be picking ones that are still thinner like that. See how those, you can see the tiny little peas starting to form. Those are still very flat. We are going for these nice little fat guys. That's the ones I'm harvesting to shell today. So let's get started. Okay. Actually, I think it's about to rain. We'll see how many of these we can get. Okay, so here are the peas that I just shelled, and I'm going through them and picking out some of the blossom ends that fell off whenever I was shelling these. I got mixed ends, you can see those there. Those don't look very appetizing, so I'm going through and making sure I got all of those picked out. And I've rinsed them several times, and now we're going to get into the canning and what you will need. So I have ball lids, canning lids here. Those are regular mouth. And then I also have canning salt. That is optional. Depends on if you like can with salt or not. I have my funnel. I have my weighted gauge for my type of canner. We'll be using 10 pounds of pressure. I have a Sharpie so I can mark the top of my lids afterwards. Also have my jar picker upper. I have lids, rings. I have a little scoop there to scoop them in, and then I already have my canner coming up to a boil here. I've added my water. I've added my washed and clean jars. I went ahead and added them into this water so they can be getting hot. And I also have hot water getting ready to boil in a separate kettle. If you don't have a kettle, you could just heat up a separate pan of hot water, and that's going to be added to our peas. So I'm going to be doing the raw pack method, and that just means that I'm going to be taking the raw peas and adding them to a warm jar. And I'm going to be adding, the jar needs to be warm so that when we add it into our canning, into our canner, it does not crack. And we're also going to be adding in hot water to this as well. So I'm just going to be adding these peas into my jars. I will say after the fact, I wish I had maybe not filled them up as much as I did. The peas did absorb a lot of water. But overall it worked out well, and I'm leaving 1-inch headspace, which is right here. You can also use your debubbling tool to measure that if you need to. So I'm adding those peas. I'm not packing them in there, I'm just loosely adding those. And I will be adding a half of a tablespoon of canning salt to each jar as well. Okay, so I'm going to be filling up my hot jars here with the rest of my peas. I did want to take a second and mention that it is really important to go ahead and preserve your peas, whether you're going to be freezing them or canning them, freeze drying them, whatever you plan to do with them. It's best to do that right away, like as soon as you harvest them, because peas very quickly begin to convert their sugars over. They will lose their sweet taste very quickly and start to taste a little milly. Still be edible, but they're just not going to have that super sweet fresh flavor the longer you wait. So I decided, even though I was only going to have 4 jars, it would be worth it to just go ahead and can these up and get them out of my way and lock in that sweet flavor. So that is what I'm doing here. And I also wanted to remind you to always use a reliable recipe or guide whenever you are canning. I am using the Ball Blue Book, and I am following their guidelines for canning English peas. And it is also important to take note that you will definitely need to use a pressure canner and not a water bath canner. Whenever preserving these in water. So now I'm adding my water. I'm going to be adding my water up to my 1-inch headspace, which is right here, just the same as where I filled up with peas. I'm adding my water to the top of each one of those. And then I will be coming back and debubbling these with my debubbling tool, and that will probably make the water level go down a little bit, and then I'll have to retop it off again with water before we seal these jars up. Okay, so I'm going to use this debubbling tool to get all the air bubbles out, and I'm just going around the edge of each jar and moving the peas around, getting lots of air bubbles out, and this will make the water line go down just a little bit. So once I'm done debubbling, I will need to top this back off with just a little bit more water before we will be ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be wiping off our jars and then adding the lids. Okay, so I'm taking a clean rag with warm water, and I'm just cleaning off the edges of my jars here to make sure those are nice and clean so that I can get a good seal when I put my lid on. You can also use a little bit of vinegar to clean this with. I just used water this time around, and then we're going to be adding each one of our lids on top. I did not pre-soak these lids. The new ball lids do not have to be pre-soaked. So you're able to just add those to the top of your jars, and then I'm adding my rings on. And when I'm adding my rings on, I'm just putting those on, twisting them until there's resistance, and then just a slight turn more. Like what we would say is just finger tight. We are not cranking down on these in any way. We are just putting these on until they are secure, but not extremely tight. And that is really important for proper sealing, is that you do not over tighten your lid. So I'm just checking them all, and now we are going to be able to add each one of these jars into our canner. My canner has already been going. The water in it is already hot. It's important to already have your water already up and hot when you add these hot jars back into your canner. My fill line is right about there for water before I place my jars in it. Of course, when I add the jars in it, it will displace the water and make the water level go up a little bit. So I have my jars in here. They're not touching each other. They have plenty of room. And now I'm going to be locking my lid in place. Different canners will have different methods of locking their lids in. This is how mine is. So my lid is locked into place. My stove eye is on, medium high, and the water is now at a simmer, coming up to a boil. And if you can see where it's starting to bubble at the top of my canner, that is the vent. And we are going to wait until a steady V-shaped stream that is not broken is steadily coming out of the top of this vent. So like it is there, once it is a steady stream coming out of the vent of steam, I am going to let that continue for 10 minutes. So we're going to vent for 10 minutes, a steady stream. So I'm setting my timer here, and we'll be back in 10 minutes for the next step. Okay, so my time is up on the venting, so now I'm going to be adding my weight. I'm going to be adding 10 pounds weight. This type of weight is 5 pounds by itself, and each ring I add adds another 5 pounds. We're going to be canning our peas at 10 pounds. And then we are going to wait for my little jiggler here to begin to rock back and forth gently, and then I will start my timer, and we are going to be canning these peas, whether it's pints or quarts, for 40 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. Okay, so my time is up, the 40 minutes is up. I'm going to turn off my stove and let this completely cool down. You cannot open your canner lid or remove your weights until everything is totally depressurized inside of your canner. For my type of canner, you do not want that to be rocking anymore, and also this little side valve, you want that to be closed to signal to you that you are indeed depressurized. Before you try to open this, if you open it too soon, you can risk all of your jars breaking from being depressurized too soon. So you can see now that it's closed. This has stopped. I can now open up my canner. It's going to still be extremely hot inside, so always open your lid away from you so that you do not burn yourself with the steam. And just be very cautious with that. Just a lot of steam can roll out of this as soon as you open it. You could use mitts. Actually, I'll try to just show you here. Let me scoot back a little bit, and I will try to show you exactly how to open this to keep from getting steam burned, especially right in your face. So open away, and then you can set that lid to the side. It's very hot. And you can either let your jars sit in here for a while and continue to cool inside of the canner, or you can remove them and set them to the side on the counter. I'm just going to go ahead and, these have been sitting here for a while at this point in time now, so I'm going to go ahead and move those over to my countertop and let those finish cooling. You're going to give them 24 hours, recommended 24 hours of sitting on the counter to let them completely cool, completely settle, and give those lids at least 24 hours to seal up. If lids have not sealed up, if they have not sealed in 24 hours, you can reprocess these. And if at the end of that second processing time they still do not seal, you can always just put the jar in your refrigerator and eat it within the next few days. And then after the 24 hours is up and you're sure that everything is sealed, you take the rings off, mark the tops of your jars with the date that you canned these, and then you can put those away. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video has helped you learn how to can peas, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching and hanging out with us.